Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm your host, Justin Speck, and I am joined today again by SmoothJStew. How you doing, Stu?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Justin?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for joining us here again today.
Talking about thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about our first animated movie on this podcast. In fact, I actually thought about making this a separate show almost with an even longer title and calling it Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies, the Animated Series. but I figured, we'll just have it be a regular episode. So
that's a bit much.
But I'm excited to finally talk about some animated movies. We're just going to be talking about the one today, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, released in 1993 and directed by Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm, and written by Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, Martin Pascoe, Michael Reeves, from a story by Alan Burnett. This is essentially the first DC animated universe film. And I did not get a chance. I did not see this in the theaters, which actually surprises me because I was the perfect age to go see it in the theater. It came out in 93. I was 10 years old. I know I was I was watching Batman the Animated Series already. I have a feeling I really wanted to go see it, and I just, my parents never took me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to sit through an animated Batman movie or something. I don't know.
I could guess that. That doesn't really seem like a movie that a parent will want to sit through.
Yeah. Do you have a memory of seeing this for the first time?
I do. I saw it for the first time on Cartoon Network.
Oh wow!
It was they showed it on like a Saturday night, and it was the greatest thing I had ever seen at that time. I was about 11 years old, something like that. I love this movie so much. Like that, I watched it and I was like, what have I been missing? How have I gone this long without seeing this movie? Because it's not a movie that they showed a whole lot on TV. It's not it's not syndicated very. Yeah.
No, it's not. And actually, one of the things I didn't realize until yesterday, I kind of was looking up, some trivia about the film, is that apparently it was going to be just a straight to video movie. And then I don't know if Warner Brothers saw what, liked what they saw or something, but they decided at the last minute to give it a theatrical run. So on the Blu-ray that I have, you can watch it either in widescreen or 4:3, which is what they originally intended. And I actually watched it in the widescreen version just because I think it looks cool, and the movie looks beautiful in HD.
Yeah, I have it on DVD. I don't have it on Blu-ray yet, but I will be upgrading it. I watched it on HBO Max this time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I bought the Batman the Animated Series on Blu-ray, and it comes with Mask of the Phantasm and Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. So both of those are on Blu-ray, a part of that set. At least the one I got. Because I pre-ordered. As soon as I found out Batman the Animated Series was coming out on Blu-ray, I was like, and pre-order. And I also
I already had it on DVD, so it wasn't a priority to upgrade it. Right. But I'm going to upgrade it eventually. I know that's not going anywhere. It's not going out of print anytime soon. No. So,
and it looks gorgeous. The show itself in HD is amazing. But I was gonna say I actually had trouble with Amazon. I pre-ordered it through Amazon, and it's a pretty big case. The first release they put out, and they just put it in an envelope and shipped it. So it came damaged, and I had to complain to Amazon. So I returned it. They sent me another one in an envelope. It came damaged. I had to complain to Amazon again. I was like, "Can you just put it in a box?" And they finally sent it to me in a box, and I was like, "Okay, good." So it came on. I was like, "This," because at the time I think it was like over $100, and I was like, "This is great. Why are you putting my $100 plus Blu-ray set in an envelope?"
Yeah, flimsy envelope. That's ridiculous, man. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
That's all right. I'm just glad I got a pristine copy eventually. So, so yeah, Batman. I had not seen this movie actually in quite a while. Getting to rewatch it, I just told you before we started recording that I didn't actually take a whole lot of notes, and I think part of the reason for that is because I was actually just enjoying watching the movie. I wasn't stopping every so often to write something down because I didn't really want to take my eyes off the screen.
Right, same. I was actually watching it, like I had it playing on my phone in the background on the way to work because I actually forgot to watch it. um but I've seen it so many times I didn't really need to actually watch it. I was just listening to it.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I didn't really need to take any notes.
I mean, the movie right out of the gate hit, like, starts with a bang, because the opening credits, I normally don't like when 2D animated TV shows or movies have like the 3D kind of modeled cityscapes
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
but they did such a good job with it. It looks exactly
It's
like the cityscape from the TV show and everything, and then the
mhm.
music with the
Oh
kind
my
of
god.
the chorus,
It's beautiful.
it's
It's
so
beautiful.
good.
That it gives me chills every time I watch it. Like,
I
oh
actually had to
man.
buy
Who
this.
who
I
did the
actually
music for the movie?
Her name is Shirley Walker, and she did music for the TV show
Shirley
too.
Walker's the GOAT.
Yeah, she's very good.
Shirley Walker's the GOAT.
Um, yeah, when I finished the movie, I was like, why don't I have this soundtrack? So I bought it off iTunes. It was like $10, and I've been listening to it pretty much all day today.
Nice.
Yep. Um,
Nice.
I remember when I did first see this movie, I was pretty impressed with the fact that it was essentially an origin story for Batman, which is something I had never seen before. All the live action, Batman movies we had gotten up to that point, he was Batman through all of them, and we got, glimpses obviously of his parents' death, but you never saw him like training or anything like that. It's just he's always been Batman. And I know this.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Yeah, there was Batman Year One written by Frank Miller, but I hadn't read it at the time, so seeing kind of seeing Bruce's early adult years leading up to him being Batman was something that I thought was really, really cool. And like I said, I had not seen before. Obviously, Batman Begins came out later, but yeah, right. I thought that was super impressive that they did that in this animated movie.
No, for sure, I agree. Yeah, we hadn't seen that up until that point, and even after that, the only thing we had seen that focused on his origin story in depth was Batman Begins. So right. Yeah, I agree. It was definitely cool to see a pre-Batman Bruce Wayne trying to learn how to be Batman. And one of the interesting things about it was that he was struggling with it.
Right.
But I don't want to get too far ahead because I know
okay.
we want to. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
But that was definitely one of my favorite things about the movie was the way they handled Bruce Wayne's kind of psyche and how he struggled with keeping his promise to his parents. So I thought that was dope and very. It's kind of heavy for a kids movie.
Yeah, an animated kids movie. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's you don't expect a movie like this, especially a movie that was originally going to go straight to video, to be, like going into Bruce Wayne's psyche and things like that, like you said. So it's impressive. It's an impressive feature film. And I'm glad that it did get a theatrical release, even though I didn't get to see it in the theater. But, I mean, the fact that they were able to put, the Batman, the animated series movie into theaters, I think is really, really cool. I also like, too, with, going into Bruce Wayne's psyche a little bit, there's a moment fairly early on. It's one of the earlier flashbacks. Well, it's after he goes and fights crime for the very first time. He's practicing jujitsu, like, out in the front yard of Wayne Manor. And Andrea shows up, and he's kind of cocky, he's like, jujitsu's no joke, and then she flips him. And so I thought that was actually kind of cool. It was like, you still have some stuff to learn there, Bruce. Yeah. You're not quite as good as you think you are yet.
Yeah, and interesting enough, I just watched Batman Long Halloween Part 2 that just came out last week, and in those movies, Part 1 and Part 2, it's the opposite. He's a good fighter, but he's not much of a detective.
Right.
So it's interesting to see him learn how to be a detective in that one, and then it's also very interesting to see him not really know what he's doing when it comes to hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
So I thought that was very interesting to see that.
Yeah. You can
he definitely got got his butt handed to him.
Yes, he did. And I think that was a good lesson for him. You know, he probably was okay, I need to make sure I don't underestimate anybody. Speaking of Batman as a detective, so in the beginning of this film, and maybe I missed it, but I'm hoping maybe you can let me know what I missed here. Okay. But he sees after the first mob boss is killed, in the beginning of the movie, he finds like a piece of glass or something with residue on it, and then at the grave or the cemetery, he finds something else with kind of the same residue. But I don't remember if he ever figures out what the residue is. Like, did that go anywhere?
I don't know. I don't know what if he ever figured it out. I assume that it was the smoke from the Phantasm.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it was ever explicitly stated whether he figured out what that was or not.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. It was neat seeing him do the detective work, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know if he actually ever solved anything there with that.
Right.
Because I thought, did I miss it? So I don't know. Maybe it is explained, but I assume it was. That makes sense being the Phantasm smoke. But I don't know if it led anywhere for him. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Phantasm. Let's talk about the Phantasm. That's the
Maybe we should have took notes.
Yeah, maybe we should have taken notes. Maybe I need to watch it again. I'll gladly watch it again. Phantasm is the villain of the film, and it was a new character created for this film, although I read somewhere that it kind of takes inspiration from a character from Batman Year 2, maybe called the Reaper or something like that. But what do you think about the Phantasm as a character?
I love the Phantasm. Yeah. I love the Grim Reaper idea. It's kind of mixed. It's Batman and the Grim Reaper put together, and I love that idea. I love Stacy Keach as the voice. Yeah. Like his voice is so deep and haunting, and it fits the character so well. The design is dope. I got the pop figure behind me. I love the Phantasm. It one of the most underrated Batman villains ever.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Phantasm is fantastic, and I'm actually jealous of your Phantasm pop because I didn't get that one. I have a couple of animated series pops, but I didn't get nearly as many as I wanted to. Yeah, and Phantasm is one that I wanted to get and I never did. And it's one of those things where now it's like super expensive because you can't find them very often. I think anyway. I haven't looked recently, but yeah, no, I agree. I think the Phantasm is super cool, and one of the things I thought while watching the movie was I was like, this movie almost kind of is like a Batman slasher film because he kind of shows up almost like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, kind of stalks his victim, and then the victim is killed, and we see the aftermath of it, and he is in the shadows, you know. And so I thought that was actually kind of
he's like a boogeyman vigilante,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
which again is kind of dark for a children's. I mean, it's not graphic by any means, but it's kind of. I mean,
it's very heavy subject matter.
It is, yeah. The whole premise is Phantasm is killing off these mob bosses, and Batman is actually getting kind of blamed for it because there's a couple. You know, after the first mob boss is killed, people see Batman. You know, it almost looks like he made the car drive through the parking garage, whatever. So he's kind of getting blamed for it, and so Batman is trying to, number one, find who's killing these mob bosses, but also number two, probably, I think it's less important to him, but he's trying to clear his name as well, you know. And the one person who flat out doesn't believe it at all is Commissioner Gordon, who's not in this movie very much.
No, he's not. Which I'm glad he isn't, because it gives Batman a chance to be more of a detective and not have the police do the work for him.
That's true. Not rely on Gordon and his intel. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Bullock is also in this film, and I thought it was fun seeing Bullock as a young like street cop in some of the flashbacks. You know. Yeah. That was kind of cool. I like the character Bullock from the animated series. He's kind of fun, even though he hates Batman.
Yeah. The flashback scenes are actually some of my favorite scenes.
They're really good.
They're very good. And that's another thing that this movie does well. The nonlinear storytelling is done very, very well. It's different and it's unique, but it's not to the point where it's complex or confusing. It's easy to follow.
Right.
And like I said, I love those flashback scenes. They're one of my favorite. They're some of my favorite parts in the movie. When they go to the Gotham World's Fair, and
Yeah,
he
I love
sees
that.
the prototype
Yeah.
Batmobile, like that's
See the
so
wheels
awesome to
turning in
me.
his brain,
Yeah. Like,
I like that too. I
for
thought that was
sure,
really,
for
really
sure.
cool. Seeing kind of the birth of the
Yeah,
Batmobile. It's pretty awesome.
yeah. And then the scene where he discovers the Bat Cave for the first time, and then you see all the bats fly out in front of the sunset. Like that is just, there's some great imagery in this movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They did a fantastic job with directing it and animating it and everything. It is very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the flashback where we see him fighting crime for the first time? He's wearing a ski mask and just a black kind of shirt and pants or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it reminded me of Batman Begins, even though this came out before Batman Begins. I would definitely believe that they got that inspiration from that particular scene, and I thought it was dope just seeing a very inexperienced Batman just not handling criminals very well, because
Right.
we always see an old seasoned Batman that knows what he's doing.
Right, exactly.
It's refreshing to see a Batman learning how to be Batman.
Mm-hmm. And I like too, again, it's hard not to compare it to Batman Begins, but we got to remember that this came out 12 years before Batman Begins. But it was really cool to see the next morning when he's practicing his jiu-jitsu, he's talking to Alfred about how the criminals weren't afraid of him. He's like, I need to strike fear into their hearts. So it's you can see again, like the wheels turning. Like he's like, I've got to do something to be this menacing presence that makes them afraid as soon as they see me. And so it was just, it was really just really cool just seeing the progression and how he kind of took on the bat mantle. Because I've read some comics where like it's just something simple, where he's thinking I've got to do something, and then a bat flies into his house or something, and he's like, that's it. It's like
year one.
Right. It's nice to see kind of like him figuring it out.
Yeah, for sure. He had to figure out that he had to become an idea.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A symbol. He had to become,
a symbol.
He had to become more than a man, I think is what they could talk about in Batman Begins.
A Batman. Also, one of my favorite things about this was we actually get to see Bruce be a playboy.
That's right.
When they're at I think it's a banquet or something, and all these different chicks are surrounding them, and the one redhead says, you're about to pick out China, and then he forgets to call you.
Throws the drink in his face.
Yeah, throws a drink in his face. I was like, that's something that we don't get to see often in the animated series. Bruce Wayne being somewhat of a ladies' man, kind of failing at it, but
right.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't really care.
No, I don't think he really does care. It does make him, right after that, the councilman, whose name is Councilman Reeves, who, by the way, is voiced by Hart Bochner, I think is how you say his name, who's the guy from Die Hard, if you remember that. Ellis, I think is his name, from Die Hard. That. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Councilman Reeves brings up Andrea for the first time, and that's kind of what I think triggers one of the flashbacks. So yeah, I agree. I don't think he really cares that he got the drink thrown in his face. I think it actually probably was like, good, my cover's working. I think it was like probably a good thing in his brain. But then Councilman Reeves brings up Andrea, and that is kind of what almost makes him sad, I think. Kind of brings back this sad memory of her.
That's one thing I'm glad you brought up when Councilman Reeves brings up Andrea. I don't know if it's a plot hole or just maybe a small oversight, but they all knew each other when they were younger, and it just seems like the way he brought Andrea up, it made it seem like he barely knew her, even though he worked very closely with her father when they were younger. So the way he brought her up is if he kind of barely knew her. That I don't know if that was on purpose to throw Bruce off, but
right.
I mean, I don't see how it would. I don't see how he would think that that's a good idea, even though he knows that Bruce
used to date Andrea.
Yeah,
right.
used to date Andrea, and like I said, they all know each other
right.
pretty
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So for him to kind of bring her up like that was weird.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. It's because it's established later that Councilman Reeves used to work for Andrea's father, was pretty close to Andrea's father, and used to see her all the time. So yeah, I'd be curious to know what the reasoning for that was, or if that was an oversight. I wish there was a commentary on this movie. That would be really a lot of fun.
Right.
Right. And insightful, but unfortunately there's not. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, that kind of threw me off. I mean, it's a nitpick, but I mean,
sure.
It was. I was wondering why he would act that way, knowing that they all know each other very well. So
right.
That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. When is obviously the first time we see Andrea is in that flashback at the graveyard. Bruce keeps thinking that she's talking to him, but she's actually talking to her mother.
Mm-hmm.
But when are we introduced to her in the present day? When do we find out she's back?
When she's talking to Councilman Reeves over the phone.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, it's established. It's revealed later in the movie that he was kind of helping her. But yeah, that's when we see her for the first time briefly in the present day, was when they're talking on the phone.
Gotcha. Then I remember Batman sees her at the cemetery again. She's talking to her mom again. He's in his Batman outfit. She turns and sees him, and he kind of flees. And then I thought it was a little bit of a stretch here that she walks over to where he was standing, and it was the Wayne tombstone, and she's immediately like, Bruce? I'm like, I don't know if I would have put two and two together like that, because if I had turned and seen somebody just standing there and then he ran away, I don't know if I would have thought, oh, he was looking at that tombstone, because it looked like he was looking at her. But she seems to figure it out from him being in the cemetery and being near the Wayne tombstone.
If that were any other person, I would say that was a stretch, but because it's her,
Andrea.
and she's a pretty smart individual, I could see her kind of figuring it out that quick.
Okay.
Especially since her and Bruce were so close. Yeah. Right. Her and Bruce were so close, she kind of instantly recognizes his I guess persona.
That's true. And she knows that Bruce has made a vow to his parents.
Yes.
And so it's possible that a bunch of things just kind of clicked in her brain all at once,
Yes.
So that's a good point. All right, I'll let it slide. I think one of my favorite, and I might be jumping ahead here, but I am jumping ahead here. But one of my favorite moments in the movie is when Bruce has decided that he is going to keep his promise to his parents and become Batman, and you see him putting on the costume for the first time, and he turns around and Alfred is just like, oh my God, like Alfred is almost scared of him in that costume and everything. That I think was a pretty powerful moment. And the music again is just so good in that scene and everything.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I didn't like about that moment is that and I don't really know how any other way they could have done it, but it didn't quite hold the gravity that I thought it would have. Just because we've seen Batman is Batman a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah, I wish that moment would have came a little bit earlier, but I understand certain things had to happen.
We had to see all these other
set that moment up.
Because actually that comes after another really great moment, and that's when I realized I was like, I am jumping ahead, because what you were starting to talk about earlier was, he goes to his parents' gravesite, and it's another one of my favorite moments in the movies.
Yes.
Where he's kind of almost begging his parents to let him get out of his vow, essentially. He's like, and one of the things he says is, he's like, I never expected to be happy. Right. And I thought that was crazy powerful. That was
super powerful.
Yeah. You know, he never expected to fall in love, never expected to actually be able to find happiness again after his parents were dead. And he had found it, and the idea of being Batman was not so great anymore. And he didn't know he was going to be Batman yet, or maybe he did, I don't know. But he kind of just was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I think I might want to do this instead, you know, but he feels, you know, hugely guilt-ridden because he made this promise, and now he's kind of begging to get out of it. And it was just really well done overall.
I agree with you. That was probably my favorite moment in the movie, where he is pleading with them to you know, like, let him out of his promise. And I just thought it was brilliant to kind of see Bruce in such a vulnerable state, because we don't really see much of that unless, you know, it's a flashback scene when he's a kid,
right?
But to actually see him find happiness and want to hold on to it, we don't get a whole lot of that in any of the Batman movies.
No, I agree. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Even in like Batman Forever, you know, he starts to fall for Chase, but it's doesn't really. Even though he falls for Chase, he's not gonna give up Batman for her necessarily. At least that's not I don't remember getting that impression in that movie. So yeah, that's
right. I mean and I know we're not talking about Batman Forever, but even that, like, that was kind of weird. I was like, do you really love her, or are you just like really horny?
Right.
Because clearly she was, because that was definitely, you know, a bat signal booty call. But
right. Yep. Yeah, it was absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, but, you know, Batman Master of the Phantasm, this is different. He actually has like real feelings for her. So.
Right. I mean, he proposes to her, and she accepts, and so they're going to get married. I mean, Bruce Wayne in a different universe, you know, Bruce Wayne is married to Andrea and has kids, and Alfred is happy because he's not fighting crime and actually is going to have a Wayne legacy, you know.
Right.
But no, doesn't turn out that way.
Yeah. And speaking of Alfred, I love Alfred in this movie. And once again, even though this movie was first, it reminded me of Jeremy Irons' Alfred, with some of the lines that he says, and just his distinct snarkiness in the movie. Right. I mean, Alfred is generally a snarky, smart person.
Yeah.
But it was just the way that his character was written, and the way that Ephraim Zimbalist delivered his lines. One of my favorite line was Bruce. I forget what part it was, but Bruce was about to leave, and he says to Alfred, "Oh, you think you're right all the time," or something like that. And, "Oh, you think you know me so well," something like that. And Alfred says, "I would hope so. I changed your diapers when you were a baby," and that sounds like something that Jeremy Irons Alfred would say.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the Alfred from the movie is the same, obviously, same actor and same portrayal as the Alfred from the animated series, and it's one of my favorite Alfred portrayals, really. And I'm still waiting to see a live action Alfred with a mustache. I know that's something small, but we have yet to see a live action Alfred with a mustache. And I'm curious if Andy Serkis in the Batman is going to have a mustache or not. I don't know. We'll see.
I think he might, and I think that's the reason we haven't seen him yet, because he's going to have a mustache.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And I'd be very, very happy about that.
Yeah, me too.
The closest thing we've got is Jeremy Irons' 5 o'clock shadow.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I love Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I think he was a fantastic Alfred. Same with, I mean, they all have been really good, actually. Michael Caine's a really good Alfred.
Michael Gough was good.
Yeah, Michael Gough is good. And then and I'm sure Andy Serkis is going to be awesome. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So. we've been pretty blessed with Alfreds, I guess.
Yes, I mean, and it's honestly hard to pick a favorite because they all do so well and they fit each movie. None of them feel out of place.
Right. I agree. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I couldn't see Michael Caine with Ben Affleck, and I couldn't
Right.
see Jeremy Irons with Christian Bale.
Right.
They all fit their movie.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the voice cast a little bit. I know we've still got a little bit of the movie to talk about, but Kevin Conroy, the GOAT,
the
for
GOAT,
sure.
The Batman himself.
The Batman.
Yes.
Can't do any better than Kevin Conroy. I mean, there's not much to say about him that we probably haven't said 100 times already, but
yes,
I
had the pleasure to meet him, and he is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was a kid in the candy, so that's probably my favorite like celebrity encounter was meeting Kevin Conroy. Like I met Batman like that. Yeah. I was it felt like Christmas Day, man.
It's really, really cool. And then you've got Dana Delaney as Andrea Beaumont, who would later.
She also plays Lois Lane.
That's right. I was going to say she would later go on to play Lois Lane on the animated series. When she showed up in the movie, she started talking. And I was like, I know that voice.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I hadn't put two and two together when I was a kid, when I saw it when I was 11. But when I got older, I was like, that voice is very familiar. And then I was watching Justice League, the animated series. And that's why I was like, oh, that's Lois Lane and Andrea Beaumont. Okay.
She does, and she does a great job. She's got and I think the producers and Bruce Timm and whatnot really liked her in this, and that's why she ended up getting cast as Lois Lane, because she did such a good job in this movie. They wanted to use her again. Right,
and I hadn't realized that she'd done Master of the Phantasm first, because I had watched Superman and Justice League before I had saw
the movie.
Master of the Phantasm.
Yep. And we've already talked a little bit about Stacy Keach as Phantasm, and he's also I forget his first name, but Mr. Beaumont.
I want to say Carl. Is it Carl?
That sounds about right. I think Carl Beaumont. He does a fantastic. Stacy Keach has a cool voice.
Yes, he does.
And so hearing him as a Phantasm, like you said, is almost gives you goosebumps.
Yeah,
but then he's also really good as Beaumont. He does a really great job in that role too. So
he feels very fatherly. Like he has that that parental type voice. It sounds very comforting.
Right.
And I love the character design of Mr. Beaumont, because he kind of looks like Thomas Wayne a little bit. With the mustache and the square jaw, just like Bruce Wayne. And I think they did that on purpose. I think they tried to make him look a little like Thomas Wayne on purpose,
because he almost becomes a bit of a father figure to Bruce. I remember when they first meet, he calls him Mr. Beaumont, and he's like, "No, don't call me. Call me Carl or whatever." And they kind of become friendly to each other. And I think in Bruce's eyes, he kind of almost sees him as a father figure, which is probably even more depressing for Bruce when Andrea sends him the ring back and disappears, and he never sees either of them again.
It's tragic, man. It's tragic, because Bruce has finally found happiness with Andrea Beaumont. He's gotten in good with the parents.
Right. He's essentially like getting another family, and then then he loses that family again. He loses. So
he lost twice. It sucks.
Right. So just thinking about that, you can kind of understand why Bruce becomes as hardened as he does. Why he is such a, has these walls that he puts up and does not let anybody close, and doesn't smile ever.
Because his happiness can be taken in an instant.
Right.
And there's nothing he can do about it. He had made the decision to live his life with Andrea, and in an instant it was gone.
Right.
There was nothing he can do about it.
Right. It's a pretty deep movie.
Yeah. I kept having to remind myself, like, this is a children's movie. This is
Right.
a family feature.
Yeah. And then rounding out the cast, the next big name is, of course, Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Yes.
Another greatest of all time.
I love how they saved him for later in the movie. He doesn't show up until about halfway through the movie.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I really like it's kind of reminiscent of The Dark Knight a little bit. You know, the mob is getting killed off and they are desperate and they've got to turn to the Joker.
Yeah.
And it completely backfires on that on that mob guy. What was his name?
Salvatore Valestra.
Yeah. Or Valestra. Yeah, he goes seeking help with the Joker, and the Joker eventually agrees, but then when the Phantasm visits Valestra, you find out the Joker just murdered him.
Yeah. Yeah, he and it's revealed that he used to work for Valestra.
Right, which I thought was kind of cool. We got a little bit of Joker backstory in this movie. That was kind of neat.
Yeah, it felt very Batman 89-ish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this movie, it really kind of got it all. You know, it's got good action. I love the opening scene with the Batman crashing the mob boss, talking about their counterfeit money and stuff. And that fight scene, I mean, that's great. It's a great way to start the movie. It starts off with a bang. It's got interesting mystery, trying to who's the Phantasm and why, how can Batman stop the Phantasm, even though
there's a lot of action in this movie as well.
There really is.
I hadn't realized like how many like action set pieces were in this movie until I watched it this last time. But like every couple of minutes, like there's something blowing up.
Right. Yeah. It's true. It's just a impressive movie, really.
Yes.
And it's not that long. There's a lot. I mean, we're talking about how like deep it is with Batman's psyche or Bruce's psyche, and we talk about like the mystery and the action and all that. And it's only like, I think the credits roll at 1 hour and 12 minutes. So I mean, it is not a long movie.
Yeah,
but they packed it full.
Yeah, they did. It's a near perfect animated superhero film.
Yeah, it really is.
There are no major problems with it. Of course, there are nitpicks, but there's nothing that makes it bad, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, me neither. Well, I guess we should talk about the big reveal, who Phantasm actually is.
Yes.
So we find out, at the actually, I think Joker has figured it out, hasn't he? He's the one that kind of calls her on it.
Yep.
And we find out that Phantasm is Andrea Beaumont. Is it Andrea or Andrea? I've been saying Andrea, but I heard you say Andrea.
Potato.
Okay, same. Okay, it doesn't matter then. I'll just keep. Okay. Yeah. So we find out it is Andrea Beaumont, which I thought was really, really cool. And and her reasoning for it, the mob basically took away her life too, and so she is exacting her revenge on the people who stole her life, essentially.
Yeah, and one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Batman confronts her about it, and then he has the audacity to say that vengeance won't solve anything, and Andrea's like, "What? Like,
right?
If anybody has the answer to that, you would."
Yeah. Don't you say you are vengeance? Like
several times.
Right. Yeah. That's true. He's like, do what I say. Don't do what I do, right?
The classic example of do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
And he was floored. He couldn't say nothing.
Right. Yeah. He's like, you got me there. Like... Now, I don't know why, but I'm struggling to remember how this movie actually ends.
They're at I keep wanting to say Amusement Mile, but it's not Amusement Mile.
It's
Gotham's World's Fair.
World's Fair, yeah.
Yeah, but it's all run down.
Right.
Kind of reminded me of Chernobyl, like the way it looked.
Yeah.
It was like very, very like amusement like, but it was like old and decrepit. I thought that looked brilliant. I love the design of the old Gotham World's Fair. But they're at the Gotham World's Fair, and Joker has rigged everything to blow up.
Oh, okay, gotcha, right. And
then all three of them kind of confront. Oh, we skipped a part. We skipped when Batman confronts the councilman, because that happens right before the three of them confront each other at the Gotham World's Fair, because Batman, still being the detective, is trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So he goes to visit the councilman in the hospital after the Joker has gotten to him.
That's right. Yeah, he's like suffering from Joker toxin. He's laughing uncontrollably,
and that is another brilliant scene, because he's laughing so hard that it hurts. Like it looks like he's in pain.
Yeah,
that he's laughing so hard he can't even breathe. And he's laughing so hard.
He's got tears like running down his cheeks.
Yeah. And Batman has no sympathy for him
right
at all.
Again, he's pretty hardened,
He keeps asking them, he asks him 7 questions before he can even answer the first one.
Right.
And then all he says is, I don't know. Batman's like, that's not good enough, bro.
Right.
Well, yeah, that was a great interrogation scene. I love the way they portrayed the agony that Councilman Reeves was in, and that was just you said his name was Hart
Bachner, I think. Yeah,
he does a great job.
He does.
Councilman Reeves, because he has that. He feels very he's like a slimy character.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's similar to his character in Die Hard. That character is kind of slimy too. Yeah. So I guess he's just pretty good at playing those types of characters.
Yeah. And he also he kind of felt like a pre Two-Face Harvey Dent type character.
I got that kind of vibe too. Like he was, but almost kind of like a, not evil. He's not. I wouldn't say he's like an evil version of Harvey Dent, but like kind of a slimy version of Harvey Dent.
Yeah, definitely a slimy version, because his motives were understandable, because he said, I worked with or I hit up Beaumont back when I was doing my first campaign because I was broke. Right. And he said no, so I sold him to the mob because I needed the money. So it was understandable. It was still wrong, but it was it wasn't he didn't know that they were gonna kill him.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure he had an idea that they were gonna do something to him.
Right. I feel like when
sure he's not that stupid.
Right. Yeah. He probably knows when you start dealing with people like that, there's always a chance that you're not gonna be able to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was another thing that was sad, because when Mr. Beaumont and Andrea ran away, they got away for a little bit. He finally got enough money to pay Valestra, and Valestra was like, no, that's not enough. So they wanted interest and they wanted blood, which that's really messed up.
Yeah, that is messed up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that scene up with Councilman Reeves in the hospital, because I actually completely forgot about that until you mentioned it, and that is a great scene.
Yeah,
I mean, it's well acted, and it's just entertaining and interesting to see how, because we've always seen the aftermath of the Joker toxin, like Sal Valestra. He was sitting there and he's got the big grin, and it kind of has his face stretched out and everything, but we kind of rarely see somebody who's like recovering from the Joker toxin, which is kind of interesting. Still being affected by it.
Yeah. And he, like I said, he was clearly in agony,
in pain.
And that's I don't think we've seen that since, and I don't think we've seen it before. Not like that.
Right.
And then they go to
the World's Fair.
Gotham World's Fair,
and have the big confrontation.
Yeah.
And so, remind me again. I'm sorry. I really probably should have tried to rewatch it again today or something. I don't know why I'm blanking so hard on the ending here, but Joker has set the building up, or the World's Fair area, to blow, and then he and Andrea
are already there, and then Batman shows up afterwards,
because she's there to kill the Joker, because he was a part of Valestra's gang.
Yes. Because she's taking revenge on everybody. He's the last one left.
Right.
And that's when he and Andrea have the conversation about vengeance, and Batman is left looking with egg on his face.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And very, very Joker-esque. He applauds Andrea for her plan, which I thought was brilliant. I like the Joker in this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like an environmental hazard, if you will, but he still has somewhat of a plan, even though he doesn't really plan much. He still has an ace up his sleeve.
Right.
And I really love seeing Joker in that light, because we always see Joker as this criminal mastermind, which is fine, but I like the idea, just like Heath Ledger's Joker said, I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do when if I caught one. So
right.
I like seeing Joker like that. He's just he just is. He's an entity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, who better to play him than Mark Hamill? I mean, when I read comics with the Joker in it, I hear it in Mark Hamill's voice. I mean, he is the Joker.
It depends on the comic.
Sure.
Most of the time I read it in Mark Hamill's voice, but it honestly depends on the artist.
Yeah.
Because when I forget the artist's name, but the writer, I believe, is Brian Azzarello, and the artist, I can't remember his name right now, but
Lee Bermejo, is that who it is?
Yes, Lee Bermejo. That's it. Yes. When I read their Batman or their Joker, I always hear Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger, yeah.
Yeah.
That comic, I agree with you 100%. Because I mean, supposedly that was a coincidence, which I kind of find mind blowing. That comic came out the same year as The Dark Knight, and they did not know what Heath Ledger was going to look like, supposedly, and that comic just ended up looking just like how Heath Ledger kind of looks in that movie. And so, when I read that comic too, I can't help but read it in Ledger's voice, because it just fits so perfectly with the artwork and the story and everything.
And I really, really hope that, because I don't know if you know, but they did greenlit the Joker sequel with
right.
Joaquin Phoenix. I really hope that they adapt that, even
that
if it's a loose adaptation like that would be dope.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about a sequel to Joker, because I think that movie is like perfect on its own. Well,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't need a sequel, and so I'm hoping that the sequel is good. I mean, obviously, I would love to see more of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. That is exciting to think about. But honestly, the movie, I just don't want it to take anything away from the movie we've already got, because that movie is so good.
I agree. I think the best way to do it is just have it be a standalone story. Just don't
bring in some of the elements from the first movie.
Just acknowledge that it happened, but don't make it necessary to watch the first one in order to watch the second one. Just have it be its own contained story. That's the best way to do that. Because the first one was a character study. I know we're getting a little bit.
That's all right. It happens in every episode. It's fine.
The first one was a character study, and to continue doing that, they need to and this is why I want them to adapt Joker, the graphic novel, because I would like to see him through another character's eyes. Because Joker was from his point of view. So Joker 2 should be from someone else's point of view.
That would be cool.
Yeah, kind of like how they do the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. The movie the movie is pretty much about Jack Sparrow, but we see it from Will's point of view.
Right.
Yeah, so I would like them to kind of do that with the Joker sequel.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, but back to Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
Mask of the Phantasm. I actually don't know if I have a whole lot more to say about the movie. I did want to point out that interesting choice of song for the end credits. I don't know, maybe it's kind of 90s, but I remember the music started and I was kind of like, this is interesting.
Yeah, I get that a lot with Batman movies, with with Seal and
right
Batman Forever. I was like, this is cool, but I don't know if it fits.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I did not like "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal, and now I think it's like one of the greatest songs of all time.
No, I agree. I was it was annoying when you were younger. It's like, oh, here's this song again.
This love song,
Yeah, man, I want to rock out, man. Like I don't want to listen to Kiss from a Rose, but now it's a damn good song.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could go ahead and get into our rating of the film if you want to talk about that.
Yeah,
I know you've got a different system of rating, so you can do your system of rating if you'd like, if you want to go ahead.
I actually didn't rate it the traditional way, just because I forgot to watch the movie and didn't have time to rate it. But I mean, it's easily a 10 out of 10 for me. I can't find anything wrong with the movie other than I want more of it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I honestly, my original thought was, John and I do stars, and so my original idea was to give it 4.5 stars. But honestly, after talking with you about it, I think it's a 5-star movie. I mean, it is quite possibly, a perfect animated film. Really, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, especially as far as superhero films go.
Yeah.
Because at least back then, that was the first time that we had gotten the origin story of Batman in depth, and it did it so well, and it changed it a little bit, but it kept it familiar enough that it was still recognizable, but they did their own thing, and they did it so well.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. I agree 100%. Well, we'd love to know what you think about Batman Mask of the Phantasm. You can always leave us a comment on cinemaheroes.com. You can reach out to us on Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM Podcast. We're on Instagram and Twitter @CinemaHeroes. And of course, this video is on YouTube, so if you're watching it on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate that. Stu, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I am on YouTube, SmoothJStew. Just type that in the search title. I do movie reviews, physical media updates, and I do physical media reviews as well. You can also follow me on Instagram @SmoothJStew, and I hope to engage with you all on IG and YouTube.
Absolutely. If you guys aren't following SmoothJStew, you need to, because he's got some cool content. I especially like his studio time episodes on Monday nights. Those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Sure thing, man. All right, well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I am Justin Speck.
And I'm SmoothJStew.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.